This is Our News, the weekend edition. And on the broadcast tonight, Grand Bahama Port Authority officials released details of just how powerful the storm surge was on that island during Hurricane Dorian. Plus, the former Foreign Affairs Minister weighs in on the UN's High Commissioner's call to halt deportations to Haiti. And later on, Potter ski dock vendors do their part to assist with hurricane relief efforts.
Our News is brought to you by Alive.
Good evening, I'm Andrew Knowles, and thanks so much for joining us. Officials believe powerful storm surges played a big role in the death and disappearance of several during Hurricane Dorian in Abaco and Grand Bahama. An assessment of the storm surge on Grand Bahama has shown just how far the water came inland. Our Kyle Joaquin reports.
6 miles. So the storm surge came at 6 miles inland from the north, just short of Midshipman Road right here.
On September 2nd, as Hurricane Dorian rolled into Grand Bahama, pushing storm surges as high as 18 feet into the northern shore of the island, water stopped just a few miles shy of the southern shore. According to Grand Bahama Port Authority GIS analyst Amit Serum, a storm surge assessment showed that East Grand Bahama wasn't so fortunate, with the storm surge covering that entire portion of the island.
There's a ridge that goes from east to west that actually stopped the storm surge from actually coming from north straight into the south. The reason why you're seeing no more data on the right-hand side of your screen is that basically everything over the bridge would have been impacted. The water came from the north straight to the south.
We've heard horror stories of residents having their loved ones snatched from their arms by the powerful storm surge during the hurricane. To date, many remain missing, with some believed to have been swept out to sea.
In other words, the north shore met the south shore. So the whole island in that area was pretty much covered with water. Okay? And so unless there was a ridge, which we didn't depict, so these open areas means that the contours were higher than the surge. And so those areas were spared of flood.
On this portion of the island, the damage is real, as shown on this assessment dashboard.
And so that's the airport. As you saw when you came in, you noticed that most of the structures, and you know for a fact, all of the structures at the airport cannot be occupied, hence temporary structures. So you see all red light up over that area. Within the Freeport proper, you see either yellow or green predominantly. Over the bridge, all you saw was red. And as we know today, none of the buildings over the bridge currently have power.
The assessment covered 630 structures in the Freeport area and found that over 200 have been deemed unsafe to enter or occupy.
Of the 630, 28% are structural issues, are damage. 32% electrical, and environmental 26%, and others over 12%.
As residents seek to fix or rebuild, the Port Authority is urging people to remove, remediate, and replace. From Grand Bahama for Our News, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
Following a call by the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights for the Bahamas to halt deportations to Haiti, former Immigration Minister Fred Mitchell says he sees no extenuating circumstances that should stop repatriation.
People are confusing two issues. First is illegal migration, number one, and secondly, those who were living here with work permits who've been displaced by the storm. Clearly, those who've been displaced by the storm have legal permission to be in the Bahamas. So we're not talking about that category of people. We're talking about people who are not here lawfully. And there's no reason, as far as we can see, for those repatriations to stop for people who are in the Bahamas unlawfully. That's the only issue.
The Minsk administration has said that while they deal with the humanitarian crisis left in the wake of Hurricane Dorian, they must also uphold the laws of the Bahamas, maintaining that anyone in the Bahamas illegally should leave or face the courts. The government has also issued a 6-month ban on the construction of any new buildings in the 4 major shanty towns on Abaco.
Our position on this is there's a game, in our view, being played because Fred Smith QC was the attorney that's supposedly stopped by injunction these functions. Our view that injunction should not have been granted. And certainly if the government has acquired the land in Abaco, it belongs to them now, so the injunction falls away. It was nonsensical in the first place. But since he funded their campaign, we challenged them in our statement to say, are you really serious about this, or are you going to, play a game on the Bahamian public and not pay attention to the larger interests of cleaning up what has been presented to you now in Abaco?
Mitchell also slammed the government's response in the wake of Hurricane Dorian, stating that it's time they produce an actionable plan.
People say that, this is a time for us to be singing Kumbaya, but this is not a time for Kumbaya now. This is almost 6 weeks since this storm took place. I saw Sarah St. George saying 40 days. 40 days have gone by, and it's time for there to be a plan as to what to do. And it just seems to be shambolic. They're mixing it up and making it up as they go along.
Meantime, the PLP chairman is urging former Prime Ministers Hubert Ingram and Perry Christie to accept the national awards offered to them back in 2018. Mitchell says the national awards lack legitimacy without their support. Our Jared Higgs tells us more.
The two Prime Ministers ought to accept the awards. Certainly, the legislation was actually passed by the last administration.
Mitchell's call for Ingram and Christie to accept the Order of Nation, government's award bestowed on all people who have served as Governor General or Prime Minister, comes as he calls for the British system of awards to be abolished.
It takes time for new things to be accepted, and in a country as conservative as this is, people are still wedded to some extent to the authenticity or legitimacy of these British honors. We should have actually, by law, abolished them, and unfortunately the present administration continues them, so that would help.
On Monday, 21 Bahamians received national honors. During a phone call on Wednesday, Ingram was asked if he reconsidered his decision to accept the award, to which he replied that he had already addressed the issue. Last August, Ingram told reporters that he saw no need to rush the award as he is the youngest person eligible. He also added that Sir Lyndon Pinling received his award posthumously. Mr. Christie gave other reasons for not accepting the award.
I just hope that in time, that both men will see their way clear to be able to accept the awards.
The national award system has encountered lots of controversy since its inception. Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis was criticized for bestowing the Order of National Hero Award on former Premier and United Bahamian Party leader Sir Roland Simonet. Critics have accused the first Bahamian Premier of leading a racist regime. Mitchell says Ingram and Christie's cooperation is important in establishing the prestige of the award.
If both men would accept the awards, I think it would lend to their legitimacy and authenticity in the minds of the public. It's an intangible thing, but I think that it's necessary for that to happen.
The Bahamas' national awards include Order of National Hero, Order of the Nation, Order of the Bahamas, Order of Excellence, Order of Distinction, and Order of Merit. Reporting for Our News Weekend, I'm Jared Higgs.
All right, thanks a lot, Jared. From the courts, a man who was killed during a gun battle with police 2 years ago was lawfully killed, a coroner's court jury ruled. 22-year-old Akeem Thompson of Pinewood Gardens died on May 20th, 2017 after he was shot twice by police constable Avard Roll. Roll was a part of an operation team on Shrimp Road off Carmichael Road when Thompson and another man passed the checkpoint in a dark gray Honda Stream vehicle. Roll signaled to the driver to stop, but he refused to stop and led the officers on a high-speed chase. The pursuit ended when the Honda Stream, which had been reported stolen 3 weeks prior, crashed into a fence in the Pride Estates community. That's when Thompson, who was armed with an AK-47 and another man with a handgun, got out of the vehicle and fired at the officers, according to the evidence. Roll returned fire. Thompson and the other man jumped a nearby fence that led to a track road, but Thompson fell to the ground as he had been shot. The man who was with Thompson was not wounded and he ran away. Roll and another officer pursued the suspect, who was dressed in a green shirt and dark trousers, but they could not catch him. Well, still ahead, it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Find out what court reporters are doing to mark the occasion. That story and more when Our News, the Weekend Edition, returns.